In the summer of 1992, AC Milan paid more money for a single footballer than any club in history had ever paid for anyone. The Vatican's official newspaper called the transfer fee an offense against the dignity of work. The player's name was Gianluigi Lentini. You have probably never heard of him, and that is exactly the point. To understand what happened to Lentini, you need to understand what Serie A was in 1992. Italian football was the most powerful league in the world. The biggest clubs had the biggest budgets, the biggest stars, and the biggest ambitions. AC Milan under Silvio Berlusconi were in the middle of building something that felt unstoppable. They had already broken the world transfer record that same summer to sign French striker Jean-Pierre Papin. Then Juventus broke it again days later to sign Gianluca Vialli. Milan looked at what Juventus had done and decided they were not finished. They identified a 23-year-old winger from Torino named Gianluigi Lentini. He was electric. He had pace that defenders simply could not deal with, dribbling ability that made him nearly impossible to contain, and crossing delivery that had already made him one of the most talked about players in Italy. That season he had been instrumental in Torino reaching the UEFA Cup final. Real Madrid had faced him and could not stop him. Milan paid 13 million for him, a number so large that it stopped conversations across Europe. The Vatican wrote about it. Newspapers in countries that barely covered football wrote about it. Lentini became, overnight, the most expensive human being ever purchased to play a sport. He was 23 years old. His first season at Milan was promising. He scored 7 goals, won the Serie A title, and played in the Champions League final. There were moments where he looked like exactly what Milan had paid for. Fast, creative, dangerous. But there were also questions. The pressure of that transfer fee was unlike anything a player had carried before. Every performance was measured against 13 million. Every average game felt like a failure. Lentini later admitted that the weight of that number followed him onto the pitch every single week. And then August 1993 arrived. The preseason tournament in Genoa had finished. Lentini got into his canary yellow Porsche 901 and began the drive home to Turin to see his girlfriend. He was traveling at a reported 125 miles per hour when the tire gave way. The car had been serviced at a station earlier that day. A mechanic had replaced the flat tire with a spare that was not designed to handle speeds above 50 miles per hour. Nobody told Lentini. The Porsche left the road on a bend near the town of Villafranca d'Asti and overturned into a ditch. The car burst into flames. A passing lorry driver saw the wreckage, stopped immediately, and dragged Lentini from the burning car with seconds to spare. Lentini was placed in an induced coma. He had fractured his skull. His eye socket was damaged. Doctors were not certain he would survive the night. He was 24 years old. He survived. 6 weeks later, he was awake and out of hospital. By some medical definition, that is a miracle. A fractured skull, severe head trauma, dragged from a burning car, in an induced coma for 2 days, and he walked out. But walking out of hospital is not the same as walking back onto a football pitch. Lentini returned to training. He tried to play. Milan were patient with him. But something had changed that no doctor could fully explain, and no training session could fix. The blurred vision never fully cleared. The memory problems were persistent. The sharpness and instinct that had made him the most expensive player in the world, the split-second decisions, the acceleration, the spatial awareness, were all slightly off. Slightly off is everything in football. He managed 13 appearances in his comeback season, then fewer, then a loan, then a quiet return to Torino, then retirement in 1999 at the age of 30. No big announcement, no farewell, just the end of a career that had once made the Vatican weigh in on the price of a human being. Here is what makes Lentini's story unlike almost any other in football. He is not a failure. He won Serie A titles, he played in the Champions League final, he represented Italy. By most measures, his career was successful. But the version of Gianluigi Lentini that existed before August 1993, the one that cost 13 million, the one that made Real Madrid look ordinary, the one that caused a global conversation about how much a footballer could possibly be worth. That version was destroyed on a road near Turin by a tire that should never have been fitted to his car. Nobody replaced it, nobody warned him, and the most expensive player in the history of football became a name that almost nobody remembers.